To Yulia Rusanova, who is a Russia and Ukraine analyst from Oxford Analytica, which provides analysis of world events. Good afternoon to you. I hope you were able to hear his level of optimism. I wonder whether you share that optimism.
Well, it's undeniably a very positive development, the agreement that was signed today. But I have to say I'm a bit cautious on the outlook for several reasons. For one, from what I understand, Russia has not yet endorsed the agreement. And we know that Russia has entrenched interests in Ukraine, trying to make it part of the customs union, which Ukraine wouldn't be able to become part of if it were to sign the association agreement. Moreover, and perhaps more importantly, leaders of the right sector, an extremist right-wing group responsible for much of the violence over the past few days, have also said that they're not interested in endorsing the agreement at this point, which might imply that in the coming days we might continue to see some of the violence emanating from those activists. And finally, a reversion to the Constitution of 2004 would not necessarily provide a panacea for Ukraine in the longer term. From what we've seen in the past, especially between 2006 and 2010, when that constitution was in action, there were quite a bit of issues with corporate governance, which might very well continue and deter Ukraine from achieving a more democratizing path.
Right. So, I mean, there's several really key issues that you outline there. I mean, when you talk about the situation regarding Russia, does Russia want to hold on to Ukraine, if I can put it that way, for financial, pragmatic, economic reasons, or is it also more emotional than that?
Well, I think both are at play here, but I would highlight the customs union issues, the more economic reasons, as probably being the primary ones, the practical reasons there. And we need to keep in mind as well that right now Russia is committed to providing $15 billion in aid to Ukraine. A tranche of that has already been dispatched back in December. If Russia were to disagree with the agreement and withdraw that aid, as well as the discount on gas prices, Ukraine's economy would be in much greater danger of sovereign default.
Yes, in terms of the immediate, the coming days and weeks, I mean, we heard Andrei Shevchenko say that he was going down to Independence Square now. He's going to try and talk to those protesters who perhaps feel this isn't sufficient, effectively, to try to win them round. Is that incumbent really on the more moderate opposition, if I can put it that way, to try to do that if there is going to be peace in the next few days and weeks?
Now, as far as the radical protesters go, I think, I think that their request, their prime request, has been for an immediate resignation of the president.
Yes.
And since that has not yet been met and isn't envisioned in the current agreement, I don't see why they would be willing to compromise. They're quite radical, they're armed, and seem very committed to achieving their goal.
But it's clear they're not going to get that. I mean, all sides are making that clear. That is not on the table. There are going to be elections, and at that point, of course, things may change once the elections go through.
Well, once the elections go through, and presumably Yanukovych will not be re-elected, I suppose the opposition, the more radical opposition, might calm down. But what they've said so far is that they don't trust the agreement that has been on the table. They don't believe that Yanukovych will follow through with the early election, and therefore they're rejecting it from the start.
Yes, the lack of trust. It is a fascinating, slightly unnerving time ahead. We do appreciate your analysis, and I'm quite sure we'll be talking about it all again. Yulia Rusanova from Oxford Analytica, very many thanks for joining us there from Oxford this afternoon.